there! In this 15-minute complimentary video, I'll demonstrate the cool effects that you can incorporate into the scripting covered in my 101 through 105 Scratch in a Box series available for purchase. Specifically, we'll take a brief look at look, pen, and sensing Scratch block elements to make sprites change shape, color, and visibility, allow sprites to create their own art, and to let your creators interact directly with sprites to control motion with the wave of a hand detected by the webcam. We'll start by looking at the looks elements in Scratch. So you'll see here what I did is I picked from the sprite library a standard sprite. So I clicked on this little guy here. And if you scroll slowly down, you'll see there's a drum section. I find that the sprites that are round, that have a lot of decoration on them and other elements, really make for the best demonstration for these look effects. So here's drum tabla, and you would click OK to add it. You can only add one at a time. But since I've already done that, I'm going to hit cancel now. So I've already got this drum tabla sprite on my screen. And you'll see here in the look section, if you drag the scroll bar down, you'll see change, and you'll see a drop down that gives you all of the different options. We have color, fisheye, whirl, pixelate, mosaic, brightness, and ghost. So in my other videos, we'll talk about the different ways to use your scripting to trigger what happens when, but here I'm going to use simply the event controls when a key is pressed. And whenever, for good practice, I have something that changes how something looks, I also have a control that changes it back to what it started looking as. So for example here, I have when the E key is pressed, change the effect, and then when the A key is pressed, clear the graphic effects. And that's how you bring it back to its original shape, or size, or however it looks. So let's walk through with this example. The effects applied to it look like. So let's go here, go to color, and as you know with Scratch, or maybe not, rather than having to run your whole game, if you click on a block element, it'll highlight yellow, and then it will actually do what that part of the script is meant to do. So every time I hit the E key, you can see it's going to change color. So I didn't have to run the rest of the script. It just allows me to play with just this little part of it. And then when I click here, and I click the A key, it's going to go back to its brown and beige stripes. So let's go through here, fisheye. Again, clicking the E key, and you'll see what it's going to do, make it distort it. And this is kind of a cool effect. For example, in games, if you want, depending on something happening, your sprite to celebrate in a certain way, or to show some sort of funny effect. This is a neat one to build into a loop, for example, or a conditional. So again, I'm going to hit the A key, take it back to its original shape and size. And we have whirl next, pressing the E key. And I'll keep pressing it, and you'll see it kind of does a neat kind of Salvador Dali artistic effect. It really, there's no right or wrong way to do it, and this is what I like so much about Scratch, is the graphics editor is so user-friendly. And it is actually pretty remarkable what it lets kids do. So when you have, it'll be easy for you, or be interesting for you, to kind of throw this out there to your learning audience and see what they gravitate towards. I mean, you're going to have kids that are going to be more enthralled with the artistic side, and some kids are going to be more enthralled by the coding, computer science side. But it's nice to see where kids fall in that continuum, and how you can build an interest perhaps in graphics where there's more of a coding interest, and where you can build coding interest perhaps where there's more of a graphics interest. So let's go back to A to clear that. And let's see, pixelate's another option. Makes it kind of blurry. And mosaic's going to break it into tiny little pieces. And brightness is going to change the hue. Clicking on A to bring it back. And then finally, we have ghost, which is going to change the transparency of it. Next, we're going to look at the pen effect, and this is in the green element section of Scratch, and you'll see that you have options like clear, pen up, and pen down. And in this example, I've paired a sprite with the actual effect of the pen. So it shows how you can bring both actions together, and the beetle will draw. So when this is clicked, I clear the pen. That's important to tell it. Make the pen go up and have bug go to these X and Y coordinates. And then when I press the P key, I try to be descriptive in what I'm having happen next, P for pen, it's going to draw little boxes. And you'll see it's following an X and Y coordinate. So let's see here. And when the P key, there we go, he starts drawing. And he'll keep doing that because we'll have a repeat for 2, right? Not on a loop. You could do it continuously. Okay. Now, the other thing that I added here is a sprite 4. And it is possible, and not even just for this effect, but for other things that you do in Scratch, to create a sprite that is then hidden so that all that displays is the effect that's tied to that sprite, or the action or the trigger that's tied to that sprite. It's a little bit of an advanced concept, but you will sometimes find, like with the beetle and the pen, that worked out pretty well, getting those two to coordinate, because they didn't need to be on the same plane, right? Because he was drawing something. But if you want an action where something's going to happen directly underneath another, say for example a shooting star, for example, you're going to probably want to hide the sprite that is tied to the pen scripting, because it's very difficult to get sometimes things on the same plane. So in this case, what I did is I wanted to draw a starting line when the space key is pressed. And I'll show you here. So again, we're going to click on this part of it so you can see just what that does, right? And what it did was there's a sprite 4, and the pen color is set to the same color as the sprite, but I hid this sprite, right? So when space key is pressed, hide this sprite. And even though you hide a sprite, the scripting associated to it is not hidden. It actually does what you have told it to do, which in this case was I set it to yellow. And you're going to have to play around with a number of times on this repeat. I just finally decided 50 was the right length of it, and that's what's kind of neat. The kids get to invent and play with this. There's really no right or wrong way of doing it, because it depends on what kids want to accomplish, right? Then pen down. And then you can change how fast it creates the starting line. And this pen shade by 50 made it dotted. If I had set that to 0, it would have made a straight line. So again, it's just another way to kind of encourage kids to take chances and just sort of see what happens, and depending on what they want to do, and see what kind of effect they want to accomplish. Lastly, we're going to talk about using the sensing blocks. And this is actually a really cool capability that Scratch has that I have never seen in any other kid-friendly platform tutorial program like Scratch. It's pretty neat, and it also allows you to purchase plugins called Connect. And MIT actually, if you Google it, has some interesting video where you can actually play a piano with your fingers, because you're using the webcam here to detect motion, to trigger motion in what you script in your Scratch project. So in this case, I've got a balloon. I'm going to put him up here. And I've got this video motion detection. And you'll see here, when you go to sensing, you would click on take a look here. You're going to click on this box here, and that detects it. So the other thing in this little scripting block that you'll see is that you're going to start embedding order of operations. And one of the things that you'll notice is when you go to conditionals like if statements, you see this little pointy box? Well, what I've done here is I want the numeric value here, which is represented in this block, in the sensing block, to be greater than 10. So you would want to drag the pointy operators boxes here, and you can drag it and drop right on top, and then go to the sensing, and then once you're in this, got these little boxes available, you can put the blue blocks right in those little boxes. So I could drag this right over there. So again, like with the pen, you want to turn the video on and video off. So you want to have different triggers that control that. And I'm going to play it next for you, which will give you an opportunity to actually see me in person, which will be this is the only video where you actually will see me. So I'm happy to say hi and look forward to a faithful following. So this controls, and you'll see, well, actually you're going to get a reminder saying it's going to turn it on, but I've already played this to prepare for this. So anyhow, you'll see with my hand is now controlling the balloon going up. When I take it down, it goes down. And again, so it's kind of a juggle game. It's neat. It really is. It's unlike anything else I've offered to kids to teach, and it really is enthralling. So I wanted to show you this. I'm going to turn it off now. And then I wanted also to show you an attract game. So this is a juggle game is where you're moving it away from you, and you can also use this same capability to attract things to you or scatter. You can do the opposite depending on the math that you choose to use. So in this case, I've got two little bats, and I made them really tiny. I always tell people this. Use this little shrink tool. You see, that'll keep doing it. Actually, I got clicked in it. If you don't click away from it, I'm going to do this here just so you can see. It really does enhance the effect sometimes of the animation that you're trying to accomplish. Oops, one more time. There we go. There you go. About the same size. So here, you can see that I've got them. There's two of them, and actually I cloned. When you do a copy as, if you do duplicate, it will actually bring all of the scripting over to one if you've already scripted it. So I scripted one and then made a duplicate. So I have bat 1 and bat 2. So they both have the same programming, except they have different X and Y coordinates. So what we're going to do next here is, first off, it's going to look like he's flying, and you'll see that they both have their own little costumes, and that's where this loop comes in, this forever loop. Then when I have the space bar, I'm going to turn the video on, and forever, these guys point in the direction of my hand. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to land on my fingers, the effect intent at least. So let me click on, they're going to start flying, then I'm going to click on the space bar, and see it's going to ask me about allowing the webcam, which is good. Okay, and in this case, I can have two hands going, right? It's a little subtle, but you'll see if I take my hands away, they kind of just, yeah. So here they're actually, there we go. Yeah, it's easier with fingers. Yeah, actually kind of flying around, and, you know, and you could have the same effect. Instead of attract, you could have a scatter type of effect. So that you could, get them actually, like if you were clearing bugs from a screen, for example. So it's kind of funny, a little bit creepy, and the kids really kind of get into that stuff, especially if you add sound effects. So I have to say, this sensing suite is really cool, and I would really encourage you to encourage kids to kind of play with it and take their time and see what kind of creative stuff they can come up with. Thank you for considering my Animate Make It Come Alive's Scratch in a Box series. By subscribing to the 101 through 105 videos, you'll learn ways to incorporate these cool graphic effects into your animation lesson plans. Please feel free to follow me and contact me on my blog, amikaalive.blogspot.com, and of course follow me on YouTube at Radafee. In the meantime, keep scratching.